Hello and welcome to Bulletin Bytes, your podcast from Bulletin Box. I'm your host Tiwo, and I bring you guests from different walks of life to talk about life. Today we have with us Gail Gibson. Gail is a performance coach that helps people find meaningful work and to live with purpose. So welcome, Gail.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show today.
And before we get into how to live with purpose, I want to understand, why should anybody need a performance coach in their lives?
That's a great question. It's one that challenges a lot of people. Even coaching as a whole is a challenge for a lot of people. However, through my experience and the experience of many, many business people and leaders across the world, working with a coach is somebody who can be a champion for you, who can keep you on track, who can challenge you when you need to be challenged.
Right.
But most importantly, somebody who's got your corner, but they're going to still encourage you to be the best that you can be.
Right.
So working with a performance coach is exactly that. If you want to improve your performance, if you want to improve your mindset, if you want to improve your personal well-being, you work with somebody like myself as a performance coach who enables you to work through various techniques and to develop habits and actions and behaviors that can take you toward that level of peak personal performance.
Lovely. But Gail, in our day-to-day life, we are so busy with the mundane of our lives that we don't realize that we need help. So how does one realize that I need a performance coach? Should we wait for that one big epiphany, or how, in your experience, how's that been for most of your clients who've come to you?
Okay, so most clients who engage the services of myself come to me because they're either caught at a crossroads, so they've gone down a path in their business or in their leadership role, and something has got in their way. There's an obstacle. And they don't know how to get around it themselves.
Right.
And the obstacle might be causing a great deal of stress. It may be just really completely burning them out because they kind of go at it, but they don't know how to get through it.
Right.
So they are, maybe it's stress, maybe it's approaching burnout, or people who realize before that hits, and they say, you know what, I want to perform at an even level.
Yes.
So when I work with the services of a coach, I can go along that path more smoothly. So rather than waiting for, as you said, that epiphany in life,
Right.
and just go, I'm burnt out, I'm exhausted, I don't have anything left in my tank to go with. If you prepare yourself and you're aware and you know and understand a little about what coaching is all about, then you can approach somebody who can build a rapport with you and who can guide you and support you to get to where you want to get to.
And that is exactly why we need more speakers like you on our show, because like you said, right, if I know beforehand that there is somebody out there whom I can approach, and I don't need to first hit that crossroads or hit that, challenge in my life and stress myself out and then look out for help. Rather, I might go and look out for help if I have a larger life goal in my life. So, but before we get into the details of what and how a performance coach helps somebody align their mind, body, and soul, I want to understand from you, what brought you to this, line of work, if I may call that.
Okay. So I think that my can-do mindset, my whole can-do approach that I've developed into a very strong coaching tool and technique stemmed from my childhood.
Right.
So I grew up in a home where I faced a few challenges in my family situation, and I think from that learning experience, it taught me to be resilient. It taught me that even though I was going through some hardships, I didn't give up and I could find a way to work my way through things. So I believe in myself when I reflect on that now, when I go right back to that time and I think, it was hard. It was quite emotional. There was lots of things going on. And probably I did a number of things that I shouldn't have done when I was in my teenage years, but I was trying out things and maybe I was looking for some attention. But what I do know I did was I never gave up and never stopped thinking there's other options, there's other ways of doing things. So it was the beginnings of this can-do mindset that I have developed strongly over the years. The next thing I believe, after childhood and going through education, once I'd finished my university education, I became a global traveller. Right. And I have to say that travel is one of those amazing and incredible experiences in life that teaches you to have a can-do mindset. You know, getting on a plane, going to somewhere you've never been to before, facing challenges such as language, such as what we're all going through right now in the world. Lots and lots of things can get thrown at you. Life throws those curveballs, but it's how you then challenge your attitude and your perspective about how you deal with them. Right. So it's through travel, it came, and through childhood and life experience as well.
So what I hear is that in your past experiences, you felt that even though you were placed in difficult scenarios and situations, you sort of overcame that and became the person that you are right now. And we all can also. And that's the can-do approach.
Because coaching is all about giving people options. Yes. It's about moving somebody from where they're at now to a place in the future. Coaching is not about going backwards. It's not like therapy. It is about moving forward.
Right. This is one of the basic questions that we also get. Like, what separates a life coach from a therapist? You know. So what is the basic difference between a life coach and a therapist?
That's a good question as well. You know, therapy is about the counselling side of things. So therapists will go down a route with somebody who needs maybe some psychological or some medical intervention. As a coach and as a life coach, I'm not qualified as a life coach. Mine is business coaching that I did my training in. But life coaches, they tread a very fine line between the need for therapy and the need to move somebody forward in their lives. So I myself have been impacted by people who've come to me as clients. We've started working together. We've been working on goals and challenges that they're going through. And it has quickly come to my attention that there is a need for a therapist. And I have to stop my coaching at that stage. And any accredited or certified coach would know how to do that. It's part of our code of ethics. And they would step back and they would say to that person, I can signpost you to the right person. There is no point as a coach blindly taking somebody down a route where there could be some serious psychological damage done. And as a coach, we're not qualified to do that. We are not because, trained like you said, in that medical.
Because your area of expertise is business and performance coaching in the world of corporate, in the corporate world.
That's right. And mindset, but not from it taps into psychology, but we don't go down that full route of the theory and the practical side of psychology.
Right. So let's get straight into it. How can one start living a more meaningful work-life balance? How can I make more meaningful work-life decisions around me? But for somebody who's looking for a general idea as to how can I propel myself in a more meaningful direction into my life, into my work life, to be more precise. So how can I start the journey for somebody who doesn't need to wait for an epiphany, who doesn't need to sort of hit a roadblock to find a life coach? I am sitting in front of one.
Okay. So a starting point is, and this comes through the experience of mine working with business and corporate leaders, is when people engage in a service with me, it's about building rapport first. So I've got to get to know that person. They've got to get to know me. Yeah. So in that rapport building stage, we talk a lot about what someone's values are, what it is in life that really matters to them. So we tap into what is their life purpose. But one of the points before that we tackle, and it has become a very key part of my whole mind, body and self-coaching direction that I take and the can-do approach, is I like to encourage my clients to put self-care and prioritize self-care at the heart of everything.
Right.
Now, why I say that is when we look after ourselves and we put ourselves first, we work on our mindset, we work on our bodies, and we go inwards as well. We set the stage. It's a foundation that we create. We set the stage for ourselves to be able to grow, to develop, to learn, to listen, and to become resilient. And when we go through that cycle, we give ourselves the chance to build and build and build this strength, and then we can succeed at whatever it is that we do.
Right.
So
So
going
you
back to
start
your
with,
question,
first of
sorry.
all, aligning yourself well. First
That's
align
right.
yourself, right?
Yes. So when you align yourself, you tap into and you talk about, so what are those things that matter to you in your life? What is important to you? What do you want to achieve? So who are you as that person? So you need to know yourself, and you need to know what makes you tick, what gets you excited each day when you get up and you go out into the world.
Yes.
Do you have a cause that you are fighting for? Is it your family that you're doing this for, or is it yourself that you're doing this for? So even corporate leaders at the top of their game, they need to have a purpose. They need to know why they're doing something, whether it is on a personal or a professional level. But so much of my coaching work focuses around that personal model of peak personal performance. So that prioritizing of self-care sits at the heart of everything that I do.
Because then it doesn't become just about work. Then it becomes more about a lifestyle.
That is exactly right. Yes, because you have to be able to take what you do in the workplace and the person that you are in the workplace and move that person into your life outside of work. And why be somebody different?
Right.
Why do you have to put on a different persona when you're with your family, your friends, so that you can have more of an even keel as you go about your everyday life, so that this taps into your empathy, it taps into all those different qualities that you can have as a person, but you also have those as a leader or when you're running an organization or running a team of people.
Right. So that's the first step, is to first of all align yourself into what matters to us. What is the second step? Now that I know what my goals are personally, in terms of empathy, in terms of what ticks me, what gets me up in the morning to go and get and win the world, what is the next step now?
Okay, so the next step is actually focusing on those key points. So we've unearthed them and we know what we want to achieve and we know what makes us tick.
Right.
But then it's about creating habits. It's about shifting behaviors. And this is where the whole growth mindset idea comes in. So in order to be able to achieve and create that meaningful work, which comes next, is you've got to work out, what are you doing each day that's getting you closer to that goal? What repetitive types of habits, or how are you strengthening those habits? How are you strengthening that wonderful muscle in our heads, our brain? How are you powering that up? Are you reading? Are you gaining knowledge? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you surrounding yourself with people who challenge you yet inspire you? Are you pushing yourself further forward? So when you set yourself a goal, does that goal scare you as much as it challenges you? If you're not doing things that scare you, how do you know you can push yourself beyond them? How do you know that you can get to that next stage? So it's a pattern of creating behaviors and creating and changing mindset, shifting behaviors, and creating those positive habits that can take you forward. So you start to, again, we set the foundation with the values and ourself. We then start building those foundation bricks into that wall. Now, when I talk about a wall, I'm not talking about building a wall around us, but I'm talking about something that is strong.
Right.
It's like building, if you build a house, and you build a wall that doesn't have any strength in it, your house is going to fall down.
Right.
When you build a wall that has strength, it is aligned, it's all matching, the pattern works its way up to, and then you put your roof on top, then you have a home and it lasts for 100 years.
Right. Like
that's about building strength.
Right. Something that can support eventually the next rung of our achievements, next rung of
Exactly.
what I want to sort of achieve in my life.
Exactly. So we're always creating stepping stones from which
Right.
we can keep stepping up, we can keep empowering ourselves, we can keep enabling ourselves
Right.
to get stronger and more effective. And in my line of work, where leaders can become better leaders, business owners can become better business owners, and then they enable their teams to thrive in that situation as well. Because what a leader is then doing is mirroring this and role modeling this out to their team so that their team are seeing this same approach.
That is
And
so important. That is so
yes,
important. Leading with example.
yes, I see that in the work that I do when I'm working in organisations with teams,
Right.
particularly through the last year as well. There's been so many changes in the whole leadership model.
Right.
And through the work that I do and with my fellow, one of my fellow coaches, we wrote our book on leadership through the crisis called The Rise of C19. And we talk about 8 key pillars of leadership that leaders need to develop in order to be able to thrive now in this crisis and beyond. So what we're talking about is building leaders to become more emotionally intelligent, to be more empathetic, to have better communication with their teams. But care comes back to the core, at the heart of the good leaders, the most successful leaders that are moving forward, are showing their teams that they care about them, they listen
Right.
to them. The words that they speak are genuine words, but they're being reflected in their actions, their behaviours. And so the ripple effect gets created.
Right.
And these teams become higher performing. They want to go to work. They're more loyal to the
Yes.
organisation as well, and they're happier in their day-to-day work.
Right. Right. Thank you so much. No, seriously, we do need that. We do need that. So, first of all, align yourself, know what matters to you, then create patterns that will eventually become second nature to us. But for that, we need to surround ourselves with people, with books, with words that inspire us, but also challenge us. Right? If there is a step 3 to this now, what that be?
Okay, so this repeated action. You know, the only way to achieve peak personal performance in mind, body, and self is to continue on that journey. So we talked about foundation, we've talked about stepping stones, and what we're doing now with this repetitive action is like any high-performing athlete. You think of somebody like Usain Bolt, and I
Right.
always use him as an example.
I know.
Usain Bolt became the fastest man in the world through repetitive practice. So he had to not only think about his mindset. So the mindset of a runner, to be able to get to that 100-meter line and to run it in under 10 seconds, it has to be a mindset. You've got to position yourself in the right. So you've got to focus on, what is my brain saying? Who am I listening to? What am I feeding into that brain as well? And then he has to think about nutrition. So he has to think about, what am I putting in my body that's powering me, is giving my muscles
Right.
more fuel to burn so that I can run faster.
Right.
Am I getting enough sleep? Am I hydrating enough? So there's all of these different parts of it. But these are all actions that have to be continued, and they get improved upon. So he would be working with, I'm sure, nutritional specialists and medical people to try and enhance his performance, not chemically, but naturally.
Right.
And then at the same time, he is having to actually do the running. So the physical running of it is repetition, but not just the same thing over and over. It's what 1% more can I do to improve myself
Always
each
adding
day?
on to it.
Always adding. So we start with that 1%, and the 1% rule is a standard one that everybody knows about in leadership. So if you can do 1% of improvement every day, it can be a simple thing, like if you just want to start going for a walk at lunchtime. So take a 15-minute walk around your local neighbourhood. We're allowed to do that in COVID times. We need to wear our masks, but we can still go out and take a walk. And if that's something you've never done before and you want to start improving yourself, 1%, take that walk.
Right. That's great. And that sort of, when we think about performance coaching, and when we think about leadership coaching, we think of them as these big, unachievable things that is only for, high flying, C-suite managers and leaders. But the things that you've just spoken about can be implemented by anybody at any given point in their lives and any given, rung in their careers, wherever they are.
That's correct.
So
Yes,
that's
most
amazing.
indeed. Yes,
But
yes. It's not selective just for them, but they are the people that I focus my executive coaching on.
right. But I want to ask you one thing. Now that I've done all of it and I'm on it, I'm on the path to whatever is my final goal. But something happens, like for example, pandemic that sort of threw everybody off their center last year. And something happens personally, professionally, that sort of throws me off my center. How do I bring myself back? How do I place myself back to the center? I bring the focus back to what my life goals are.
Okay, it's, one of those things that happens to all of us. And right now, so many people have been impacted by mental health issues and burnout and a whole host of things in the current crisis. For the last year and a bit, we're still going, aren't we? It hasn't gone away. But one of the things that I often work with my clients is being kind to yourself, being compassionate. When something hits you, it's okay to take a step back, to pause and reflect on how you're feeling right there in the moment. The people that don't do that and who bottle it up and continue doing what they've always been doing before, and they park it somewhere in their mind and they just plow on and keep doing it. Now, some people might say, it gives me strength to do that because I keep building my resilience and I don't want to let my guard down because I might fall apart completely. There's two sides to that. Some people do derive success that way. Other people are better coming forward and working it through with somebody. But the first thing to do is take a step, pause, and spend some time just in silence, because it's okay to not be on your best game all the time.
Right. Like taking the same example of Usain Bolt that you mentioned a few moments ago, is that while running, if he ever, I'm sure he's been subjected to multiple injuries in his career.
Yes.
But if he doesn't take care of that injury, he will not be able to be fit for the next run.
That's right. That's right. So it's a setback, isn't it? It's a setback in your life or in your career or in whatever it is that you're doing. But that's one of the pillars of a growth mindset, is how do you deal with setbacks?
Right.
Somebody with a fixed mindset faces that setback and just pushes the blame out to somebody else, doesn't want to deal with it, doesn't want the confrontation, and they just hold on to it. And when we hold on to things, we're human. We all do it. We put our hands up. Let's say that we all do it.
Yes.
We get tense. We get stressed. We can make ourselves very, very unwell. We overthink. We make a mountain out of a molehill. I do it. We all do it. We're human.
Please. I'm in the same boat as you.
Exactly. We're human. And anyone who tells you differently is lying. But those who then jump into that growth mindset arena, which is what the can-do approach is all about, they will look at that setback and they will spend that time. And even Usain Bolt, say he was faced with an injury, he'll take a step back and go, was I doing something wrong? Was I overrunning? Was I not eating the right things? Was I not getting enough hydration into my system? There's so many reasons why, but somebody who faces setbacks with a can-do approach will say, let me look at my options, let me get myself back into the right mindset, then I can move forward without rushing into things and going blindly at something and making the whole situation worse, or making the injury 10 times worse and then being off the running track for 1 or 2 years. It's not worth it.
Right.
So it's exactly the same.
Yeah. And we've seen numerous examples of such, when we have short-term goals in front of us, we cannot make long-term decisions and it will come and bite us.
That's right. But the short-term goals enable us to build that strength. And I talked about that muscle before in our brain.
Also building up the repeated pattern. Yeah.
Building up the repeated pattern so that it gives us resilience. So when these setbacks and these challenges do come, we have techniques and tools that we can tap into to get ourselves through them, or we seek the support of a coach to work with us.
Yes. I also want to ask, in your in your experience with coaching and with numerous clients that you've had, has there been one person who surprised you the most with their progress in their lives or in their businesses?
Wow, now that's I probably have a few clients over the years who that has happened to me, and and typically these have been people that I have worked with over a longer period of time.
Right.
But one of my coaching clients from the UK really stands out to me. Now, she came to me on a workshop where she met me before we even entered into a coaching relationship with one another.
Right.
And she signed up immediately. She said there was something about me that captured her. And she said, "You're the person I want to start working with." Now, this was back in, where are we now? It was about 2011. 10 years ago.
10 years ago, yes.
So 10 years ago, this client of mine, she came to my workshop. She then signed up to a short program I delivered with a friend, which was an 8-week program about mindset. From that stage onwards, she is somebody who has embraced the whole development of the can-do approach. So she signed up for one-to-one coaching with me. She joined a program that I ran in the UK for 5 years, which was called the Can-Do Coffee Club, and it was all about business women getting together to work through challenges, to work through mindset, to develop their confidence, and numerous other traits that business women needed to be successful in business. So
Right.
she signed up on this and she went through that program, and she became in 2016 my business person of the year. She had shown me so much growth in all of this time.
Right.
Our relationship post that time, so I moved from the UK to Malaysia in 2018.
Yes. Okay.
And she still tapped into my coaching, where she has accountability coaching with me. So what that means is, rather than a full coaching program, and it's a very successful part of my business as well, clients who've worked on programs with me, or people who just want that constant support to be challenged, they book 4 accountability sessions a year. So we have 2 hours with each other once every quarter, and we really discuss the challenges. We really focus on very specific short-term goals that want to be achieved, and the mindset around that. And so we create habits and behaviours that need to be addressed and implemented, and then I support that person with what I call nudges to keep them on track. And so she has still embraced this and been part of this journey. So for the last 10 years, she's been a key part of my business. It is not a reliance, and I always say to my clients, I don't want you to stay with me, and I don't want you to think that I am the person that's going to sort all of this out for you, because coaching is definitely not that.
No.
You have to do all the work yourself. I will support you. I will push you when you want me to push you. I will challenge you and stretch you as much as you want me to, or beyond, because I want you to be the best person you can be in everything that you do.
Right.
So her last step into the world of my coaching was myself and my co-author of our leadership book. We are running a women's self-leadership program in Malaysia this year. Well, it's a global program, and she has tapped into this. So she is signed up for 12 months with us on this global women's self-leadership program as well. So she is somebody who now, when I look at the person that she was to where she is today, she is absolutely soaring high like an eagle in the sky. But she knows when she needs to come down to nest and come and get some added support to be a stronger, higher flyer. Right. And she comes back still for her accountability sessions. And she's always upskilling herself. She is always wanting to get better and better as a leader in her own organisation, but also better as a human being.
Right. That's beautiful. No, seriously, and we need more women leaders around us. I can't really, specify this enough. In my little journey with Bulletin Bytes, I've spoken to so many inspiring women. I mean, if you go to the website, you'll see so many talks with women, and it's just amazing that business can't have too many women leaders around us. One thing about the can-do approach, and I understand that, if we are faced with challenges in our lives, in our work, in our careers, we can sort of shift gears and push ourselves to do it, whatever is challenging us. But I'm sure there are times that requires us to, leave that particular part of our journey and move on, you know, and sort of to make a decision of that, okay, I've spent enough time working towards it. It is not giving me the kind of results that I was hoping for. And I need to now maybe change the course and work towards something else, which can be, achievable or whatever is the word. I want to ask that as to how and when should one make that decision of abandoning a course that we were doing and changing course to another one. Uh, because I mean, we all have our personal, what's the word, limits, I guess, to whatever we can achieve. And if we can't sort of work towards that and understand that what my personal limit is, I'll keep on working and spending energy towards a goal that may not be ever achievable for me. Do you think is that a right sort of an approach towards this?
I'm interested to hear that you say there's a cutoff point for our own personal limits.
Right.
I don't believe that is the case.
Really?
I believe that human beings can be limitless within. There's limitless thinking, there's boundaryless thought, there's organisations out there who are disrupting the whole workplace and everything and saying we're limitless, we're barrierless, we're using that word less. And so I think that when we tell ourselves that we have limits, we are not maximising our full potential. So what you were just saying there, when people get to maybe that crossroads, as you were talking about, and I've had experience of this over the last 15 years, where I've helped people move through career transition who have been in very long, very high up roles within a company. And all of a sudden, it's been redundancy that's been thrust upon them. Now, redundancy is a very scary time for anybody. Now, that isn't always a choice. But let's use the redundancy experience. So the professionals that I have worked with on that, they came to a series of workshops that myself and another career coach were running in the UK at the time. And they then embraced this opportunity to explore, to be curious, to go on an adventure. And I think one of the things that really shone for me was these people became very childlike again, and they were looking at the world through a different set of eyes, because the pressure of moving away from the job that they had been in, they didn't want to carry all of it forward. But what they did want to carry forward was the experience, the life experience, also some of the skills experience. But what they then did, and this was all part of the program that we coached them on as well, was getting them to think about the skills that they have that they actually liked doing and wanted to take forward. So the skills that they had that they didn't necessarily want to take forward, they didn't have to, they could park those. So what happened as a result of that was, over the next 3 years, we worked with these people over quite a long period of time, because transition takes time. This life change takes time. So these people were going out and trying new things. They were tempting themselves. They were networking. They were having conversations. They were reading books. They were taking new skills, lessons and learnings, and they were embracing this whole adventure. And as a result of it, one of them, who had been in a very people-focused HR role in his career, he became a very successful and is a leading NLP. So are you aware of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming? It's a psychology type of communication and coaching tool. So he fully embraced NLP. And he is now one of the leading practitioners in London. So this was a complete transformation of somebody who had been focused on HR, rewards systems, people-focused systems, processes within organisation, to go to NLP, which is a very creative, psychology-based type of
what I hear from you is that what I initially termed as limits is not really a limit to our abilities, but a way of sort of molding ourselves to a different career goal, a different life goal, probably. Is that what you mean by transitioning?
Yes, as well, but it's removing that limiting mindset that we may have.
Right.
So it's saying to ourselves that we can do other things, we can keep learning to do other things in our lives, and when we find something, when we find the next thing that is something that we get so excited about when we get out of bed every day, and it really matters to us, and it starts to have that ripple effect to those around us as well.
Right.
We then can focus ourselves on mastering that habit. So we do the repetition, so we become a high performer. And it's all about performance, because the only way to get through life is to continually say to yourself, what do I need to do to think, act, and be more? That's what it's all about. So it's always about empowering and uplifting and feeding the performance that we can deliver.
Right. You know what? Recently, I was listening to a podcast, and at the end of the podcast, the presenter asked the other person, the other guest on the other side, was how they want to leave the world a better place. And listening to you right now, if we can work towards aligning ourselves into achieving more and building these habits that are that sort of help us become the person that we want to be, I think we will eventually leave the world a better place. If everybody starts putting in that effort within themselves.
Yes, I agree. And I go back to that 1% that I was talking about. And I every morning I have a morning routine, and I go out for a walk. I do 10,000 steps before 10 a.m. every single morning, Monday to Friday. And as part of that walking time, it's a very silent time for me. I walk solo. I'm in a beautiful green space, so I'm immersed in nature. But I also, on that walk, I am grateful for 3 things in my life, and I talk about those. I talk those out to the world. But what I focus on each day in that is what 1% improvement can I make today to make me a better human? Because as you said, we can create and leave that legacy. Some people write masses and masses of books. Some people write beautiful songs. Other people build incredible organizations where people never want to leave because the organization is so good. Other people, you go right down to the other end of society, and you might think somebody builds a beautiful village for the people, and it's a very simple act that they do in their lives. But what they're doing, it's the human spirit, and in the essence of it all is what can we do a little bit more of each day to become the best human that we can be. We don't have to have all those other labels. But if we treat ourselves kindly, we treat those around us kindly, we start to create that ripple effect and model that out to everybody in whoever's lives we touch, whoever we talk to, whoever we share things with, then that is all that really matters. And that is the legacy I think that a lot of people should be aiming toward, rather than having to have millions and millions of dollars in the bank. You can't take any of that with you, but people will. And people always say, there's that fantastic term that says people remember, they remember how you feel. They might not necessarily remember what you say, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Right. Thank you, Gail, for that inspiring talk. It is true. And, the more we get to sort of know ourselves and align our goals, align our day-to-day activities towards that goal, the more of a better human being we can become. And it is doable, and we can do it. Thank you so much, Gail. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed talking to you this evening.
Me too.
Thank you
and
so
guys,
much.
Guys, if you need more details about Gail, we will leave her details, her LinkedIn profile in the description box. Please keep following us on the Bulletin box for more such inspiring talks. And to take away from this today's talk, I will say, let's keep doing that 1% extra each day. And maybe after about 10 years, we'll be sitting here and talking to you. Thank you so much, Gail. Once again, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.